The moment I stepped into the Marlowe room, I knew my family had rehearsed every smile. Vivian lifted her hand first, a graceful flick of fingers meant to signal warmth. It only reminded me she practiced affection the way other people practiced speeches. "Emery, darling," she said, as if the cameras were already rolling. "Sit. We ordered your favorite." I took the seat across from her. Madeline angled her phone slightly. Not enough to look obvious, but enough for me to see the red recording light reflected in my water glass. Russell cleared his throat. "Let's keep this civil," he said, even though no one had raised their voice. Vivian reached for her purse and slid a cream envelope across the table. "Before we begin," she murmured, "there's something the family needs to settle." The envelope stopped at the edge of my plate. Madeline's phone tilted down to capture it. I rested my fingers on the flap. "You could have mailed it," I said quietly. "We felt this deserved presence." Russell replied. He sat straighter, the posture he used during board meetings. I opened the envelope. The paper inside was thick, embossed with the Cross Family Foundation seal. The language was formal, almost cold, a statement of disinheritance, a request for me to sign away any future claim to the estate, trusts, or holdings. Their signatures lined the bottom in confident loops. Madeline kept recording. "This is healthier. For everyone." I folded the letter once, then again. My heartbeat should have echoed, but everything inside me felt still. "Thank you," I said. Vivian blinked. "For what?" "For showing me exactly where we stand." The server approached to refill water. Vivian waved him away, embarrassed. Russell stared at the envelope like it had betrayed him by failing to break me. I placed it beside my plate with a soft tap. "Before anything else continues," I said gently, "if you're listening to this story right now, stay with me. Every moment after this one matters." Madeline lowered her phone for the first time. "What does that mean?" "It means," I said, rising from my chair, "you have no idea what comes next." I grew up learning that silence was the Cross family's first language, not the peaceful kind, more like the version people used when they were deciding whether you were worth the performance. Vivian perfected it early. When guests arrived at our Minneapolis home, she placed a hand on Madeline's shoulder and announced, "Our brilliant daughter, Madeline Cross." She just secured another fellowship. Then she gestured vaguely toward me. "And this is Emery. She is exploring her options." She always left the sentence open, as if finishing it might embarrass her. One evening, as donors gathered in the foyer, Russell called Madeline over. "Stand here," he said, positioning her beneath the family portrait. "You need to be visible. People should recognize the future of the foundation." I stepped forward to help arrange the name cards. Russell glanced at me. "Emery, let the staff handle that. You hover. It sends mixed signals." Madeline smiled at me gently, the kind of smile people offer before closing a door. Later that night, after the guests left, I found Vivian examining the portrait above the fireplace, Madeline centered, all confidence and poise, me slightly turned, expression soft, almost fading. Vivian didn't look at me when she spoke. "You should hold your shoulders higher in family photos. It gives a stronger impression." I said nothing. Strong impressions weren't meant for me. She smoothed her dress and added, "People remember what they see. We want them to remember the right things." That was the moment I understood my role. Not the heir, not the favorite, not even the disappointment. Just the quiet space that made their perfection look brighter. I picked up extra shifts at the Minneapolis distribution center because it was the only place where no one cared about last names. Boxes moved, routes changed, results mattered. It felt cleaner than anything at home. One Sunday evening, I walked into the kitchen and found Russell pouring wine for Madeline at the marble counter. Their conversation stopped the moment they saw me. "Emery," Russell said, swirling his glass. "Your sister brought up something important. Madeline set her phone down, screen still glowing. "It is not judgment," she said lightly. "I just think working at a loading dock might complicate the family image." I dropped my keys onto the counter. "I am gathering root data for my project. It is part of my research." Russell lifted an eyebrow. "Research is one thing. Manual labor is another. Those environments do not suit someone with your background." Madeline leaned forward. "It is not about the work. It is just off-brand." I let the words settle between us. "I am funding my own tuition." I said, "This helps me do that." Russell looked at Madeline instead of me. "Degrees do not build legacies. Performance does. If you want to be taken seriously, act like it." I felt a small crack inside, not sharp enough to break anything, just enough to remind me something was shifting. Madeline reached for her wine, offering a sympathetic smile. "We are worried about how it looks." That is all." I nodded once. They had no idea how little their worry meant to me anymore. The fellowship email arrived while I was finishing a root analysis. National Innovation Fellowship awarded to Emory Cross. I stared at the screen for a long moment, letting the words steady me. Then I forwarded it to the family group chat, including the press clipping attached by the university. 6 hours passed before Vivian replied. "Lovely news." "Dear, we have a charity function tonight. We will post about it tomorrow." They never did. That evening, I walked past the framed photos lining the upstairs hallway. In every picture, Madeline glowed in the center while I lingered at the edge, angled slightly away, catching half the light. It felt like looking at evidence rather than memories. Madeline's door opened as I passed. She leaned against the frame. "Mom is proud," she said softly. "She just has a lot on her mind." I met her eyes. It takes 2 seconds to say it. Madeline hesitated. "I think she wants you to. Find your direction first." I nodded. "Right. Because accomplishments do not count until they fit the family script." She didn't argue. She just stepped back into her room, letting the silence follow her. I went to mine, sat on the bed, and deleted the entire group chat thread. No anger, no impulse. Just the realization that I no longer needed their attention to measure my own worth. 2 days before graduation, a notification popped up from the cross-family group chat. Vivian had sent a reservation link. "Pre-graduation dinner for Emory. The Marlowe Room. Formal attire encouraged." I clicked the guest list. 3 names appeared. Russell Cross, Vivian Cross, Madeline Cross. Mine was nowhere. I stared at the screen long enough for the page to refresh twice, but nothing changed. A private message from Madeline arrived seconds later. "Do not spiral. It is just formatting. These menus always glitch." I typed slowly. My name is the only one missing. Her typing bubbles appeared, disappeared, then returned. You know how Mom is about appearances. She probably wanted to finalize the layout first. "It is not personal." I stepped away from the desk. "Everything in this family is personal." She called immediately. I let it ring. When it stopped, another message followed. "You are overthinking. Everyone knows you are invited." I replied, "If everyone knows, it should not be this hard to put my name on the list." A long pause. Then "Please do not make this complicated." I looked out my apartment window at the Minneapolis skyline flickering against the early evening. Something in me settled quiet, sharp. It already is. I wrote back. Madeline sent no further messages. She did not need to. The empty guest list said everything for her. Dr. Lenora Blake called me into her office the morning after the guest list fiasco. She never used a formal tone unless something significant had happened. "Close the door." "Emory," she said. "Sit." I did. She slid a printed letter across the desk, her expression unreadable. "You have been selected for the Midwest Applied Technology Award," she said. "You will be recognized at commencement, and you will speak." For a second, I forgot how to breathe. They chose me. They did, she said. Not because of your family name. Not because of polish. Her gaze softened. Because your work is exceptional. I nodded, but the weight in my chest did not lift. She noticed. You want to tell me what is wrong? I hesitated. My family sent a reservation for a graduation dinner. Every name is listed except mine. Dr. Blake leaned back. And they expect you to pretend not to notice. That is how it has always worked. She folded her hands. Then, stop participating. I looked up at her. She continued. You do not need their affirmation to legitimize your achievements. If they cannot see you, that is their limitation, not yours. The words struck something steadier in me than anger ever could. She added quietly, This is your moment, Emery. Own it quietly. I let the silence stretch, the kind that felt like clarity instead of punishment. I think I finally understand what that means. I said, Dr. Blake offered a small smile. Good. And Emery, when you tell your story someday, make sure you tell it like it belongs to you. I left her office with the award letter held tightly in my hand, feeling the shift inside me settle into place. Rowan Pierce and Lila Chen met me in the university lab the same night Dr. Blake handed me the award letter. Neither of them questioned why I wanted to work instead of celebrate. Rowan pushed his glasses up. You look motivated. I am done waiting for permission. I said, Let's finish the optimization model. Lila spun her chair toward me. Then tell us the part you have not said out loud yet. I hesitated. The system is almost ready. We only need real route validation. Rowan grinned. I already secured a trial with a courier service in St. Paul. Small fleet. 20 vehicles. Enough variation to stress test the algorithm. I stared at him. You got that without asking me. You needed it, he said. So I got it. Lila tapped the keyboard. Run the simulation. The numbers rolled across the screen, data lines tightening, recalibrating, resolving. When the model finished processing, Rowan leaned in. Fuel cost reduction is 11.3%, he said. Consistent across 4 separate route sets. Lila exhaled sharply. That is not good. That is breakthrough. I felt the shift inside me, the recognition I had been starving for, but not from the people I once begged it from. A week later, we presented RouteWise at the Northwestern Startup Expo. I kept my voice steady while Rowan handled the technical breakdown and Lila guided investors through the interface. In the back of the crowd stood a tall man in a charcoal suit, listening more intently than anyone else. When the applause faded, he approached. I am Harrison Kepler, he said, offering his hand. Kepler Transit Solutions. Your system caught my attention. Which part? I asked. Not the algorithm, he said. I frowned lightly. Me. You built something fair, he said. Efficient, but fair. That is rare. Rowan exchanged a look with Lila, both of them startled by the directness. Harrison slipped a card into my hand. Let us talk again. Soon. I watched him walk away, the card warm against my palm. For the first time, I felt what it meant to be seen on my own terms and not as the shadow of a family name that never wanted me to shine. The due diligence phase stretched over 5 weeks, each meeting sharper than the one before. Harrison Kepler was never unkind, but he never softened a question either. During our final meeting in St. Louis, he placed a gray folder on the table between us. This is our offer, he said. $3.8 million, 12% retained equity, and the Director of Systems Integration role beginning after commencement. Rowan let out a low breath. Lila squeezed my arm under the table. I opened the folder slowly, reading every line twice. Harrison watched me, not rushing, not persuading. When I finished, I said, You are giving me control of the integration phase. I am giving you control of what you built, he replied. If you want it, Lila whispered. Emery, this is huge. Rowan leaned forward. You earned every number in that contract. I looked at both of them. If I do this, everything changes. Harrison folded his hands. Change is not the threat your family taught you. It is... The words lodged deeper than he knew. I picked up the pen. My hand did not shake. I am ready, I said. When I signed, Rowan clapped once, unable to hold it in. Lila laughed into her hands. Harrison extended his arm. Congratulations. Emery, you just rewrote your future. I shook his hand. No, I said quietly. I finally claimed it. The Marlowe room looked exactly as it had the night they tried to carve me out of their lineage. Same chandelier glow, same white tablecloths, same curated elegance. But the moment I stepped inside, the air shifted. I was no longer the one arriving small. The hostess scanned the reservation list. Cross party for 3. She said. 4. I answered. She frowned. Your name is not listed. It seldom is, I said, and walked past her. Vivian rose halfway from her seat, smiling like she'd been waiting to embrace me. Emery, sweetheart, we were worried you might skip this. I do not skip what belongs to me, I said. Sitting down, Madeline angled her phone just enough to catch my expression. Let us try to make tonight pleasant. No drama. Russell cleared his throat, already reaching for a folder. We want to finalize everything while the lawyers are aligned. He slid a new envelope toward me, another formal document, printed on heavy stock, a revised disinheritance agreement, a request to sign away all claims to the Cross Family Foundation and any future holdings. Madeline whispered. It is honestly cleaner for everyone. I opened it, skimmed, and set it beside my water glass. You rehearsed this, I said. All of you. Vivian's smile stiffened. We are doing what is best, for whom I asked. Silence tightened across the table. Then I reached into my bag and placed my own gray folder in front of them. I opened it slowly, turning it so they could read. Acquisition Agreement Rootwise Systems, $3.8 million, 12% retained equity. Director of Systems Integration Emery Cross. Press release scheduled for midnight. Russell's jaw locked. Madeline's phone lowered until it hit the table. Vivian pressed a hand to her necklace like it might steady her. I did not come here to argue, I said gently. I came to return your paperwork. I slid their disinheritance letter back toward them. You wanted me to give up my future, but I already signed one you cannot touch. I walked out of the Marlowe room before any of them found words sharp enough to chase me. The violinist shifted into another song, soft and slow, as if the room itself understood what had ended. Outside, the Chicago night carried a cool edge. My phone buzzed alerts from half a dozen tech outlets announcing the Rootwise acquisition. I let the screen glow for a moment before slipping it back into my pocket. By the time I reached my Minneapolis apartment, dawn had begun to push against the skyline. I set the cross disinheritance letter behind the framed award Dr. Blake had given me. It fit there quiet, recorded, no longer heavy. A message flashed from Madeline. We did not mean it like that. Can we talk? I turned the phone face down. If you are still listening to my story, stay with me. Moments like this matter more than anything they ever signed. The room settled into stillness, and for the first time, the silence belonged entirely to me.